Joining me on the phones, big announcement yesterday that the state of Texas leading a lawsuit. The headline from the Texas Tribune, Texas leading suit to stop Obama transgender school policy. You could also call it, as I did, the mandate from the Obama administration over transgender bathroom use. And joining me on the phones right now, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Tell our listeners a little bit about this lawsuit and the school district that brought this, that I guess really spearheaded all of this, correct?
Yeah, this is a school district, the Herald Independent School District. They're up in Wichita County, up in North Texas. And we have, of course, 10 other states, along with Texas, that filed a lawsuit against the Obama administration, and it includes a suit against the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, the Department of Education, and the EEOC. And our argument is pretty simple, that the Obama administration does not have the authority to change statutes that have been in existence since the 60s and 70s on Title IX and Title VII relating to discrimination and education. And they don't have the authority to change that law without going through Congress. That it is the authority of our legislative body to make changes in law, and that one person out of the Oval Office cannot do that.
The administration, I'm sure, will argue. I haven't seen their side of it yet, but in previous statements, they have said that that bans on students being able to pick the bathroom which aligns with their gender. If you believe in that transgender students get to choose their own bathroom. That if schools don't allow that is violating a student's civil rights. I guess the state of Texas would disagree with that, right?
Well, there's two things here. One is, first of all, this is a solution in search of a problem. They're not actually addressing any real problem with what they put out. They talk about addressing a problem, but the reality is what they've done here is such a broad swath. So anybody can now go into a bathroom and say, some man can walk into a girl's locker room and say, I feel like a woman today, and then change back tomorrow. So it's too broad. And second of all, this is an issue that should be resolved with a political debate. Congress has tried to make this change. There are certain congressmen from around the country that have tried to make this change really going back to the 70s and as recently as 2015, and they've been unable to change it because there's not the will of the legislature to do it. So it's just not in the purview of the president to just decide he doesn't like something and he just goes in and changes the law. That's our argument.
Visiting with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, there are a lot of listeners, I think, that wonder why this is all of a sudden an issue from the administration, from school districts like Fort Worth ISD. Is there an epidemic of transgender students that are somehow being discriminated against?
They don't ever identify that in their guidelines. That's what I'm saying. It's a solution in search of a problem. They don't identify that as being a problem. They don't provide any evidence that it's a problem. And so that's why it's really odd, other than the fact that we know that Obama doesn't have much time left. He's not been very good at working with Congress. And so his philosophy over the last couple of years, especially since I've been in office, and really even before that when Governor Abbott was filing 31 lawsuits against the federal government, the philosophy is, look, I can't work with Congress. They're not going to do my radical agenda. They're not going to create risky policies or statutes like this, but I can do it. And some of it will get through. I won't be sued on everything. Maybe some I might win on. And so I think that's the philosophy. Forget Congress. We're just going to legislate from the office of the president.
What is the goal for the state exactly?
The goal for the state is to get an injunction so that school districts don't feel like they have to go change these policies, which again are not required by law, because we don't want them to be forced to change these policies because they're afraid they're going to lose their federal funding. So, a lot of times what the Obama administration has done is they'll present these new changes in law. They'll force people to change, and then when we sue them, it takes 2 or 3 years to go through the lawsuit. We'll win, but then by the time we've won, everybody's changed the way they do business, and so we're trying to stop that.
And so Herald ISD, they passed a a policy that put them at odds with what the administration said? Did they pass a policy stating that you have to go to the bathroom and lock? And this is not just about bathrooms, correct? This is about locker rooms as well. So bathrooms and locker rooms that's on your birth certificate. Is that what Harold ISD says?
Yeah, it's also this policy also deals with overnight stays. So if you have a field trip at a school, and say one of the boys says, and they're staying at a hotel or whatever, and girls are in one room and boys are in another, and if a boy says, "I feel like a girl," they also have to accommodate him and put him in with the girls. So,
okay. So in theory, and I'm sure this would never ever be abused. So in theory, if you have two people who are dating, a boy and a girl who are dating, and if the boy says all of a sudden, "Hey, I feel like a female now, and we want to be placed in the same room," would the school district, in theory, maybe they don't have to put them in the same room, but do they have to go along with his request?
According to these guidelines, you would have to do that, and that boy could change his feeling the next day, so he doesn't have to stay consistent. And as a matter of fact, the Attorney General, I think you can find this quote somewhere. I think she said something like, "This gender identity issue is more important than the individual privacy of everybody else in America."
Oh my goodness. I don't see how we are at this point. I have to be honest with you on this. It's just, to me, if you look at what happened in Fort Worth ISD, where they have this plan in place where if now you're a girl and you feel uncomfortable with a boy using the women's restroom, then you're the problem. You have to go and you have to request for a different bathroom. Is this what the federal guidelines would also bring into place?
Absolutely. And I was over in Fort Worth when those parents did a press conference, about 100 of them. So I had the chance to meet with them, and it crosses party lines, it crosses ethnic lines, it crosses socioeconomic lines. These are parents and grandparents that are concerned about the safety of their children. So, in my opinion, the Obama administration clearly overreached here, and I think they're offending parents of people from across the country.
Visiting with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who are some of these other states that have joined in with the state of Texas?
So I can give you the list. It's Alabama, Maine, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Tennessee, Arizona, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Utah, and Georgia. And my guess is you have not seen the end of states that are going to get in this lawsuit. I think we had to do this kind of quickly because we didn't want schools to start implementing this without the chance to fight back. And so I think you're going to see other states get involved.
What are the state of Maine actually surprises me on that list. It's not just deep red states that are on that list, and as you said, more states could join. What is the timeline that your office is looking at?
Well, so we're asking for a preliminary injunction and a permanent injunction, so that, because one of the problems we have is the Obama administration will change rules or change law, and then we'll sue them, and it takes 2 or 3 years to fight it out and win. We end up winning. But then by then, everybody's adopted the policy because they were afraid of what would happen if we lost. And so just as with immigration, we got a preliminary injunction there because we didn't want to implement the policy and force everybody to change. And so we're trying to stop it so that schools don't have to be worried about their funding.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, appreciate your time today. This is a big case. It's obviously made a ton of headlines this morning, and we look forward to visiting with you throughout the timeline and seeing where this goes, because I think it's an important issue to a lot of people.
Well, stay tuned, and hopefully your listeners will talk to their school district and encourage them to because we can help we can represent any school district in the state. So any school district who wants to join, we'll let them in.
Is it so far just Harold ISD who has joined in?
Yeah, and we don't need any more because we actually didn't necessarily need a particular school district. We have state schools, for the blind and for deaf, who are receiving federal funding. So we could have done it just as a state, but they happen to be involved in already making that decision, so we included them.
All right. Well, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, appreciate your time today, and we'll visit with you down the road on this issue and other issues as well.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. That's Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton.